Recently, I took a good look at my caseload to get a realistic perspective of my everyday work life. As a school social worker, I see students with a wide variety of needs and diagnoses. Right now, I have 19 students on my caseload who qualify for special education services as a student with an autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, eligibility. I want to point out that they have an educational eligibility. This differs from a medical diagnosis. When we suspect that a student may qualify for services as a student with ASD, we conduct an evaluation. We look at 4 primary areas of possible impairment or deficit: social interaction, communication skills, restrictive, repetitive, or stereotyped behaviors, and inconsistent or unusual response to sensory stimuli. The evaluation consists of myself as a school social worker, a speech and language therapist, and a school psychologist. Sometimes we'll pull in another team member, like an occupational therapist. When we're conducting the evaluation, we do various assessments, we bring in outside sources of data, we do observations and interviews, and then at the end, we all come together and we make a decision. In this case, we've decided that yes, this student has ASD, and yes, they qualify for services. Now, more often than not, one of these services is school social work. I said before that I have 19 students right now on my caseload who qualify under the ASD umbrella. I have almost 50 other students on my caseload that qualify in other areas, such as an emotional impairment. So this means I need to get creative when I'm providing services. But before I get too far into services and interventions, I just want to emphasize that if you know one student or one child with autism, you know one student or one child with autism. Strengths and needs are going to vary greatly, and what one student needs is not what another student needs. But usually when a student with ASD qualifies for school social work, I'm seeing underdeveloped social skills. These students may be exhibiting less social play, more isolated play. They have poor group entry skills, they have poor initiation skills. Overall, they have less adaptive, interactive styles. Oftentimes, these students are not preferred as playmates. This not only compounds already compromised social development, but it can contribute to decreased involvement in classroom activities, in academics, and increased anxiety around their peers in the classroom and in the community. So what do I do about it? In my room, I have a book called My Best Friend Will. My Best Friend Will is written by Tara, a speech and language pathologist and autism specialist, and her daughter, Jamie. In this story, they tell us the true story of Jamie's friendship with Will. Jamie is neurotypical. Will has autism spectrum disorder. Jamie tells us all of the ways that her friendship with Will is really the same as her other friendships, but also how it's different. Jamie tells us early on that autism is just another way of being. Behind the scenes, as a professional, Tara has done significant, important work in helping Will cultivate his friendships. She uses a model called integrated play groups. I use a similar model. I call them links groups, and they're based off of work done at Grand Valley State University. The premise of the groups is this: I take neurotypical peers from the general education classroom, and I bring them to my room, and we work together on social skills and developing friendships with our student with ASD. The students are chosen from the general education class for specific reasons. Research shows that students who have developmental delays are more likely, significantly more likely to show increased social interaction when they're exposed to the general education setting rather than just the small group or special education setting. These students are chosen for a variety of reasons. We receive parent permission, but usually it's because they're already friends with our student with ASD. They volunteered, they are kind, they have strong social skills, or they have similar interests. These students want to be friends with this kid with ASD in their class, and they are strong supports for 2 main reasons. Our first reason is modeling. Modeling, we know in psychology, is the process by which a person, or in this case a student, shows another person or student the skill to be learned. Here we're talking about social skills or social behaviors. Our second main reason for choosing general education peers is scaffolding. Scaffolding, we know, is the process by which a person, again, in this case, a student, is able to better learn skills when they're guided by somebody with more skill or more experience in that area than if they were to just attempt on their own. So now these students, these links, they all come together in my room, and they're learning social skills. They're starting to develop friendships. They're starting to navigate that hidden curriculum in schools. And when I talk about hidden curriculum, I'm referring to the lessons outside the lessons, the beliefs, the expectations, the norms, the social culture, all of the things that are expected to be learned but are not explicitly taught. When the links are meeting with me in my room, it's a safe, structured environment. But when it comes time to generalize these skills, this is where peer support becomes critical. Because I can give these students all of the hypotheticals. We can talk through what to expect and what to do in different scenarios. We can even practice. But when it really comes time to put it to the test, when push comes to shove, I'm never going to be an 8-year-old student in that second grade class, growing, learning, developing relationships in that social culture. But my links will be. And this is not only beneficial for our students with ASD. Their peers are learning young that it's okay if somebody is utilizing a fidget, they're using headphones, they're standing at their desk. It's okay if they need to take a break or they need to pace in the back of the room. It's just another way of being. And when students understand this, it starts to break down barriers in the classroom as well as social barriers. My student with ASD, they may still struggle with group entry skills, but now their peers, they don't hesitate or they're not nervous to approach them and to try and include them on their own. And these groups can follow a student all the way through their educational career. Usually we start at the elementary level, that's when most students are referred to me. And at the elementary level, we have more intensive, structured, intentional time together. We're playing social skills games, we're playing therapy games, we do crafts and activities, we'll talk about different scenarios and emotions. And students are learning really important social skills and life skills together, but they're also developing friendships. And these friendships start to move outside of my room. Students start making plans together for lunch. They make plans together for recess. They start exchanging phone numbers. When we get to the middle school level, our dynamics do change a bit, right? Students are getting older. Their schedules look a little bit different. Our links group, though, we still meet. It's all the same peers. Sometimes we bring in new friends. And now we're more of a social lunch group. Students come to my room weekly or bi-weekly, and they bring their lunch. And now we're learning that new hidden curriculum of middle school. And we're shifting from more play-based to talk-based. The social relationships remain, and my student with ASD has social support, has peers they feel comfortable with to help them in their new circumstances that maybe they don't quite understand. How to transition from class to class in the hallway, how to behave in the locker room. Now, when we get to high school, our students are more independent than they've ever been. Some of my students with ASD no longer need their formal links groups. They have other friend groups. They've kind of gotten the hang of that hidden curriculum. But some of my students with ASD do still need that formal links group. They need that intentional support. However, when we get to the high school level, our classes are looking wildly different now, right? So some of my students with ASD, they don't have any classes with their links. And they might not even have lunch together. But what I'm finding is that the links, they're doing the hard work without me. Let me give you an example. I have a student at the high school right now with ASD. He has some pretty significant needs and he requires support. He is noticeably different, but that's okay. His peers understand that's just another way of being. He belongs at our school. He's been on homecoming court. He's heavily involved in the art program. I see him fairly regularly one-on-one, and every time we talk, he's telling me about the boys. The boys are his links group that was developed about a decade ago when he was an elementary school student. The school social worker before me, she did a great job setting this group up for success. And he's always telling me about what him and the boys did that weekend. He doesn't drive, so they come and pick him up and they take him out to the movies. They go swimming. They'll just come over and play video games or they'll make YouTube videos. They're all genuinely friends and they support one another. And I have no doubt that when these students move on from high school, when they graduate, they go on to college and the workforce, they're going to continue to be friends. In 2012, the Michigan Department of Education posted an article where they talked about students with ASD and their peer supports. And this is what they said. Peer support should not end when students graduate or move to a post-high school program. Interaction with peers and natural supports needs to continue on into employment, college, housing, and social and recreational activities. ASD is lifelong, and social and community engagement is needed for a lifetime. We all need social support and guidance to thrive in this world. We all need to have links and to be links for other people. Our goal for all of our students is to learn how to navigate the hidden curriculum of our social world together and to learn how to socialize and be independent in a world with all different ways of being. Thank you.